Hello everyone, this is Christine with Patter Crafts, and today I'm here with a design team project for Scrapping for Less. Today I am making a scene with this stamp set here from the Greeting Farm called S'more Fun. This is going to be a slight challenge for me today because I will be using some of masking paper from Inka Dinka Doo. Usually I use full adhesive Post-it, but today I'm actually going to stamp out a scene and color the whole thing with Copics. And that is something I don't really know if I've done an entire card only using stamping and Copics. So we're going to do that today. So first thing I'm going to do is stamp out all of the images onto the masking paper. I kind of have an idea what I'm doing for this card at this point, but I'd rather stamp out everything and not need something than to already do all this stamping and then need something. So we're going to stamp it all out. The trees a couple of times because I'm going to be using Copics to color the ground and the sky, so they all need to be covered. So on my paper here, I've got it cut down with a large stitched rectangle die. I am using the masking pieces to kind of lay out what my scene is going to look like. Once that's kind of where I think everything's going to go, I'm going to go ahead and grab each one of the stamps again and stamp them out and then add the masking paper right over the top. I did fussy cut the masking paper. For anyone that has watched any of my videos, you know I really hate fussy cutting. But I will tell you, these images are pretty easy to fussy cut. I didn't find it took me a lot of time at all to do that. Granted, it's just also masking. But because I was coloring completely on top of around the masking pieces, I did want to try to make sure that I did a good job cutting these. But again, it really wasn't all that difficult. So for these trees, I decided I want trees behind all of these tents and then on the other side. So I don't show all of that because eventually I have to stamp more trees and cut them out. So my thought process was we're going to have this man, boy, he's on a camping trip. I'm not sure if he's out with his family or scouts or whatever, but he's on this camping trip. So he's sitting out here by his fire. There's his tent right there. And we've got other tents and campers from other campers. And some campgrounds are really into the woods, and so there is a lot of brown space and not so much green. There's a lot of dirt areas. So that is how I imagined this to play out. So I'm just using a variety of different browns. At first I do try to lay out all the caps for you, but by the time I am done coloring this entire scene, I swear I used almost every single marker I own. So eventually, I apologize. I get a little lazy with putting the caps up because I'm just kind of focused. So I use a variety of different E-markers for the ground, and then I'm bringing in some of the more sky-like blues that I have, and just using that for the sky. And then once I'm done those two pieces, I decided I don't want the sky to go below those trees. So I'm just coming in with a couple of different green markers, and we're going to add just a little bit of grass on that little path, which in my mind is a little dirt road leading up to where all the campers go. And now we're going to go ahead and take the masks all off. And of course, I think everybody loves that part. I did have it bleed through into places you won't even notice it because it does get colored over. So overall, I'm pretty happy with this Inkadinkado mask paper. I don't think the Post-it could have handled as much ink that I got on there. So if your budget allows, definitely get some masking paper. But if you're on a more strict budget, the full adhesive Post-it does work. If you're just going to be adding a lot of ink, you might want to maybe put 2 pieces of Post-it, like one over the other. So I'm coloring in all of my tents, and I'll color in the camper. And I do color the inside of the tent the same color. And then I'm going to end up coming in with a cool gray, like one of the, I don't know, I think it's C5. It could be C3, but I think it's C5. And I'm going to color the inside of those tents with that, because if you're looking at a tent, when you look inside, you're still going to see the color of the tent. It's just going to be a darker color. And I am limited on the number of colors that I have. And if you don't have a darker color that you're using, you can, and I should say, and you do have some either warm grays or cool grays, or I think there's some neutral or toner grays, go ahead and use those in those colored areas, and it will help darken it up a little bit. So we're just going ahead and coloring the little boy in, the fire, and here I am coming in with the gray marker. And you see how it just darkens it up just a little, but it doesn't really take the color away. Now, my whole thought for this whole thing is he's sitting by the campfire and he wishes his sweetheart was with him. So the sentiment, "Wish you were here," is the one that I'm using for this card. So I cut out a circle to fit this girl. And I'm using a circle and not like a bubble, because I don't really have any that would fit her. I want it to be small enough to not take over the whole card, but I want it to be big enough to have her completely in the circle. So I'm using a circle. And so now we're going to go ahead and color her in. And then after I'm done, I will erase the pencil line that I made. When I'm coloring her hair, I had all my browns all over, and I know I wanted to give her some brown hair, but I wasn't sure which kind, and the color combinations weren't working out very well. But I just kept pushing through, and now I'm happy with the result. So now that everything has been drying for a little bit, I do come back in, and we are going to use some white embossing powder for the sentiment, "Wish you were here." Now that the card is done, I would definitely have used maybe some black embossing powder, just because I don't think it shows up really, really well. And there you saw my light kind of flick off. I dropped the embossing powder and it literally landed on the power strip where it turns it off. So that's that little glitch there with the lighting. So just going ahead, adding the white embossing powder, and I will go ahead and heat set that. And I always pick it up because one time I didn't and it blew all over and it was quite a mess. So this is pretty much the card. I am going to add some foam tape to the back of this. This is just some 3M. I buy the 3/4 thick roll from Amazon. It's a little bit, at least at the time that I purchased it, it was less expensive than the 1/2 inch, and I do have to cut it a lot more as maybe the other size, because I have had both sizes, but I'd rather get a little extra and have to cut it. So whatever foam tape works for you, or you could use any kind of adhesive, really, foam adhesive, fun foam, foam dots, squares. I'm sure you get the gist. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and peel this backing off, and I'm going to bring in the card base and just put that down. And then as I'm putting this down, I remembered I forgot to put the little bubbles in, and I was going to use a stamp for that, but since I have all this foam tape, I didn't want it to not stamp right, so I'm just using a black pen and filling in those little dots. So that is my project for today. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you would like to see more and you're not already, please hit that subscribe button. But until next time, everyone, bye.